Aloha everyone, this is Randyl and here we are with our Wellness of Hawaii scheduled for the Big Island, and we are going to see Mayor Roth in just a few minutes, and hopefully he will be open to our presentation of a wellness model for our Big Island.
And I don't know how much you know, last year in January I had a massive heart attack. And so I changed my diet, became a vegan. Went through the Orange program. So I don't know how familiar you guys are with the Orange program. It's a very strict diet, exercise, love, and relaxation.
Well, by the way,
What a concept.
you look really good.
I feel good.
I mean, you really do. You really do. Yeah.
So the whole thing on a wellness model, I totally get that. The whole thing about eating healthy, I totally get that. The whole thing about not working too many hours, I totally don't get that. Relaxation, stuff like that, I try to get that in when I can. But I'm doing some of those things. So we just started something called Walk with the Mayor, or Move with the Mayor.
Perfect.
So we're going to be doing that both in Kona and Hilo on a monthly basis.
Will you be the mayor present then?
Huh?
Will you be present for that?
Absolutely.
He's the
Yeah,
mayor.
move
You
with
walk
the
with
mayor.
the mayor. He's the mayor.
yeah,
So
but
I
I'm
have
just-
to be
I'm just
present.
asking, that's
Yeah.
all.
So yeah, I'll be present for that. It's kind of an excuse to get out and do the exercise that I'm supposed to do.
Get out of the office.
But it's also a chance for people to talk about different issues and things like that.
Yeah. Cool.
I had we got to go back to the cable channel. I've done a couple of cooking shows.
I mean,
With
Naleo.
Naleo.
Well, we work hand in hand.
So I've taken some chefs and we've done some vegan kinds of meals. And last year I was really very strict because I didn't even have oil or salt, which is controversial for some people.
Right.
Getting rid of meat, totally easy. Getting rid of oil and salt,
That's tough.
that's tough. So I've learned how to make my own cheeses and all that stuff.
That is wonderful.
So I totally get that. So what else we're doing something else in this realm. We're looking for grants for agriculture because we realize that 90% of the food that we eat on this island is coming from off island. So we need to get people more in tune with growing things, getting people to go into agriculture. Unfortunately, a lot of our kids don't want to be in agriculture.
Well, it's not sexy.
It's not sexy. So we're looking for grants to improve our distribution, help farmers. We're looking at regenerative agriculture as well as other things. We're trying to help the food bank. So all these things, are pretty similar together. And our theme for our county, or our major focus for the county, has been sustainability, and looking at the 17 sustainability goals. For me, what that means is the ability for our kids to raise their kids on our island. Dennis has heard me say this numerous times. That starts off first with quality jobs and housing, affordable housing. But then you got to look at the anchors. If you don't have doctors, you're not healthy, then you're not going to stay here. You need to make sure that we're taking care of our land, and we have an environment that you can be, proud of, that people want to stay in. You not want to be in New Jersey, for example.
Well, the state motto,
Yeah.
Maute Ea o Ka'aini Kapono. I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
You know?
So if you look at the sustainability goals, almost all of them can hook up to what you guys are talking about. Whether we're talking about poverty, people who are going hungry, obviously those first two definitely come to wellness and health. And if you look at wellness is from doctors' points of view, you'll know that poverty is probably the biggest enemy of healthcare. So that's the third sustainability goal is to have healthcare. Education, getting this stuff into the schools kind of fits in right where you're at.
Yes.
Quality. Water, of course, plays a big role, a sixth sustainability goal. All of the goals, life on land, life on water, infrastructure, all of this kind of plays into this. And so this is kind of what we've been preaching from the county already in
Right.
different areas. So we have a program actually this weekend where we're taking local chefs and local kids, and the chefs are mentoring the kids, called Hawaiian Chef, and we're having like a competition where the chefs get to brag of their kids win. This is the second year we've done this.
That's awesome.
But the focus of that is using locally grown produce,
Yes, excellent.
so that kids learn what we have, because we still have a food desert here, with prices being a lot cheaper for kids to eat at McDonald's and things like that than other places. So this is, I think we're already kind of in line with what you're doing. So I don't know where you want to go from there, but just
Well,
kind of let you know that this is the
it sounds
direction.
Sounds like clearly you resonate with the same values. You've been through it because of your personal experience. And so, what I want to do on the medical end of it, which is what I've been doing for 40 years, I'm a specialist in functional medicine. I've been a nutritionist certified since 1975. So however many years that is, 25 plus 20, 45 years, 47 years. But so it's been my life for a long time in the medical world to be dealing with lifestyle medicine. And so what you're talking about with Randall's, it's all congruent.
Absolutely.
And we're on the same page. What I wanted to do is just kind of go through a couple of things as examples to drive the point home. But clearly, you resonate with the values and the issues of sustainability, the issues of teaching the children this thing you're doing this weekend. Not only are they going to get involved with food and understanding that role, but maybe inspiring them to become, my last patient today went to 5 culinary schools. She's a vegan chef, a personal chef. She's been doing this all over the world.
You got to
for a long
introduce me to
time.
her.
Yeah,
Vegan
so
chef.
that's exactly it. And and Stephen, of course, who runs the restaurant. So as Randall was saying, we've got the shortage of reportedly 1,000 doctor shortage in the state. Okay, so then you see the headlines: knock out the GET, get rid of the general excise tax for medical, because that will bring doctors here, because nobody wants. Why a doctor wouldn't want to come to Hawaii, I have no idea. It's the best place on the planet. But their compensation, the reimbursement, isn't so good, and there's some doubt to the cost of living. Anyway, so one of the options was get rid of the general excise tax, advertise more, pay more, get them better compensation, all these kind of ideas.
I think it's not a silver bullet. I think
No, I'm saying
I agree
not
with
at
you.
all. I'm saying not at all. I'm
I
saying
think
it's
we
on the
do
flip
need
side.
to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think what I learned having my heart attack is that you can reverse this kind of stuff
Absolutely.
with diet, exercise.
That's my point.
And
So the point
I
is
totally get it.
Yeah, so we can either spend more on those, and I'm saying we shouldn't incentivize the doctors coming to Hawaii to fill up that short. But
I'll disagree with you there a little bit, because I think we're always going to need. I think we're going to need the doctors. We're not going to get 100% of the people doing all the things that you're supposed to do.
No, I agree with you. I mean, I have a thing next. I'm going to have to fly to Oahu to get some hardware taken out of from an accident I had where there's screws, and I can't do it here. I'm going to have to go over there.
Right.
So we want guys here. We want specialists here. My point is that you can either load this side of the scale with raise the cost of healthcare, or people are jumping off into the river. Now, you can either get them when they're floating as dead bodies downstream, or you can get them as they're going in. And what we've learned out of 40, 50 years of medicine, is that it's better to catch them at the beginning, which is what you've gone through your experience.
So let me ask you this. It's interesting for me because what percentage of doctors really know about what you're talking about?
Very few, no question about it.
Yeah.
There are guys here on the island, a few, who are lifestyle medicine doctors. Unfortunately, they spend their life, I spent an hour on the phone yesterday with one, making referrals and trying to run the healthcare system. My point is that, as you'll see if I just give you a few examples, is that we can reduce the risk of these things and prevent them completely. And doesn't that make more sense than raising the cost of healthcare? And so I mean,
you're preaching to the choir.
I understand.
So
But what Randyl is wanting to do on December 10 is to have an event that really focuses on natural, preventative lifestyle rather before they get sick. And that's what he is wanting to talk about and promote for that event on December 10th.
And so I'll give some examples of exactly what you just said, Tony. So the Big Island is an agricultural mecca. We've got year-round growing. We've got an amazing place to make food, grow food. And so why are we getting, as you pointed out, 90% of our food from waiting for a Matson container or a barge to bring it into us? And so
that's actually a great question. Why is it that we're getting 90%?
Well, it's marketing. The incentive is because there's money, it's cheap. You can go for a family that doesn't have money, the poverty issue, can go to McDonald's and buy made from 5 different countries. The beef that's in it is from Brazil, it's from Canada. You don't even know what you're getting. We have, if you want that, Big Island beef up in, but the point is that it's cheaper and therefore people don't know what the options are. They don't know how to make food cheaply, inexpensively, good, solid food. So what our goal is to get local, organic, plant-based food and make people aware of the health benefits of that it really is a lifestyle change. And some people are willing to make one, some aren't. But the point is, and what Randall's doing, and what I've been doing for 40 years, is if you educate people, if you explain, here you can do this, you can do this leads this way, this leads this way, it's a no-brainer. And so I'll give you a couple of examples of what I'm talking about. In our country, the number one risk of death, which you found out, is heart attack. So cardiovascular disease, number one. The second one is cancer, quickly coming up. So you'll see an article in our newspaper, cancer center in crisis, okay? Having to turn away patients because they don't have staffing, okay. I've been working with cancer patients for 40 years. So again, we can load up, and I'm not saying we shouldn't have the best possible oncology people here on this island to help. I'm saying that cancer can be prevented. We know that over 90% of all cancer is from lifestyle and environmental, and a small percentage of cancer that isn't. We know that we can modify the genes. So this idea of I've got a BRCA gene for breast cancer, we know that we can modify the genes and gene expression for those cancers by what? Our forks and our spoons. This is how we modify the gene. So this has been shown over and over and over again. And a couple of quickies on it, because it's so cool when you think about it.
So I was going to tell you, I totally get this. I gave a speech last month in New York at United Nations on planting trees and taking care of our environment. People that you would think would think like we do.
Yeah.
And I had everybody stand up. I said, okay, now, how many of you know that diet and exercise is good for your health? And everybody stood up.
Of course they do. Yeah, right.
And if you, so you know that, how many of you know if you do it every day, it's good for you? Keep on standing. How many of you know if that diet, exercise, and you have a vegetarian diet, just a plant-based diet, stand up. Everybody's standing up still. Now, how many of you are vegetarians and exercise, a couple of times a week? If you do, stand up.
Understand.
And almost everybody sat down.
Yeah.
So, most people,
Understand the big
understand
Well,
the big concept,
here's
but
the deal.
they're not.
I think something that's an educated group you're dealing with.
And that's a very highly educated
That's what I'm
group.
getting at. So these are not your general public who may not know those concepts. And so the balance of whether you can actually do them or not is, but that's why you're doing the walk with the mayor. That's why you're doing the stuff
Right.
you're doing.
But so I think we have a bigger problem than just telling people that, I think you go into the general public, most people are going to know that diet and exercise is really good for you. And people will give you every excuse in the world.
So implementing is the issue, which is one of the things we're
Well, implementing and sticking to it.
Yes.
I in this
You're
last
scared that you're going to die with a heart attack. You say, yeah, I know what, I'm going to make the change, but I want to stay around.
right, but even in the position I'm at, I know that I shouldn't be doing 16-hour days.
Not
But-
like that. I have patients have much better lives. They go to bed 8 o'clock. They go to bed 9. I'm up researching, studying, writing reports till late.
Right,
So I know what you're talking about.
I know I shouldn't have things with sugar or salt or oil. I still sneak some of those things in, and so I'm a person that
That's
because of
disciplined.
well
So,
the alternative for me was death, and I got a whole year under my belt. And it's like, well, it's not going to hurt a little bit. Just to add, I've kept meat out of my diet. I've kept chicken. I've kept most. I snuck fish in occasionally. Kept eggs out of my diet, pork out of my diet. But some of these things are just so prevalent in our society. My question is not should we be doing this? Because I'm 100% with you. I mean,
Yeah.
how do we do it?
you've got me, and not what are the benefits, because I know the
Well,
benefits.
Who knows?
But how do we do this
I understand. Yeah.
to get people? I've seen places where they start, like in France with school kids, and they have gardens at their school, and they're only eating from those gardens, and I'd love to have those kinds of programs in our schools and doing things like that, because we as a group of people, whether you're in Hawaii or any place else in the world, quite frankly, we're pretty thick-skulled. It's very difficult to get stuff through to us. What you want to do, I'm totally behind 100%. I'm trying to do it in different ways as well. The question is, for all of us, it is marketing, and we're never going to have the marketing money that McDonald's does.
Education.
It's
Well, but Randyl, your idea of December 10th, share this with them.
Well, the thing is that on December 10th, as I said, I really feel pleased that I can get Holly Helify whenever it's available. And December 10th was available. So what I want to do, I talked to Dr. Tim, I talked to Tony about it, I want to do somehow a wellness through agriculture. And I searched the internet because I wanted to have, because I get all these kind of unique, weird, wild, and wonderful names for things, and I want to call it the Manifesto. I want to call it the Wellness Manifesto through Agriculture.
okay.
And I'd like, once again, I was so happy to get a proclamation from you from the county. And also, I, as well as Dr. Tim, I know a lot of other health practitioners and things like that. We have what we put up at our events, we call Healing Ohana. And I bought a huge circus tent for it that I put outside. And we have practitioners that are doing all different types of body therapies and things. But what I want to be able to do is it's marketing. I want to be able to get the word out, and I'm willing, to like put my skin in the game to make it happen, because that's the reason I'm here, is that I want to be able to offer wellness models. And what I said is that I believe that you look really good. I don't know how you're feeling, but you
feel pretty good.
You look pretty darn good.
And you probably know this from your clients, when they give up meat and they go onto this diet, you feel a lot better.
Yeah. So there are things that there are so many different types of movies and other things on what it means to transition from a regular, what they call a SAD diet.
Yeah, I actually even know that.
Right. So I agree with you that it's the education. How do you get the public, the community involved?
Sure.
And I don't agree that they all already know this. I think because I've been doing it with patients. A lot of them don't, but my experience, 40 years worth of, is that when you educate them, when you explain in detail why, what happens when you do this, what happens when you smoke a cigarette, what does it do to your brain, and you explain the consequences, that people are much more apt to change. And if you give them the tools of how do you prepare food, like you're learning, how do you prepare healthy, plant-based food, that then people do make changes. So I reversed diabetes. When I met you the first time, you hadn't had the heart attack. And I knew what happened with Kim, who I love. And I said to myself, and I wanted to talk, but things were always busy and crowded there. And I said, I don't want that to happen to Mitch. I said, I want Mayor to be able to live through his years and more terms, on your terms, and make you heart attack proof. And I apologized because I never followed up and I was going to contact you and say, hey, I don't want this to happen. Let's make you heart attack proof. Mm-hmm. Now, as things happened, you ended up having an event and changed your lifestyle. But what I do in the office is make people heart attack, stroke proof. So there are ways of doing it. The more you understand the oil, and we'll talk someday about that stuff. But,
okay.
But this is all covered. But and there's ways to fix it to where you can do it without it. Okay, so I believe that education, that getting people to where they understand the consequences, and as Randyl said, how do you feel when you do this versus when you do this? And people do change. They do feel better. Their brain works better, and they will make the changes if they're given an opportunity and know how to do it. Most people don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
They don't have a personal chef like my patient who can do it. So I think it can be done. I think this is a nice step. I think if it's available, I would participate with a regular, periodic educational thing, whether it be holla holla by where you want to do it.
I'm happy to say, we're in. I feel, probably even co-sponsor it with you. Maybe.
That'd be a blessing.
I mean that's something. So, I've geeked out on this stuff for over 6 months.
Good. Right.
Watching all the doctors and.
Well, it's amazing how much information is out there.
Oh, there's a lot of information.
So what do you see as the obstacles to implementing this kind of thing from your end?
Implementing. When you say this kind of thing, I think the obstacles.
My idea is we want this island to become a beacon of light, an example. We already have the best longevity of any state in the country. We already have it's a mecca. People came here when I came here because it was a vortex of energy, all that stuff. So we are in the right place.
Let's not get too
esoteric. So let me just say this. I mean, if you guys, if you want to do the work, we can put in. Let me see what we can do about helping you host those things, putting out invitations. I think one of the things for me in going to a plant-based diet and especially a salt, oil-free diet, or even a low salt, low oil diet, was figuring out how to cook things. So I think,
And with people like, well, for instance, I'm going to be very quick here, but whenever I would have these festivals, I would always have Chef Steve come in
Yep.
for the Avocado Festival, Mango Festival, Nut Festival, and have Chef Steve put together something, give samples.
Yep.
And
and
I've
Steve
had-
was one of our chefs last year.
Oh yeah, and I had people come up from the audience, you know, I mean, even regular Hawaiian guys, and they said, if that guy made food for me, I'd be eating it.
Right.
You know, because it tastes wonderful. You know, you're not lacking anything. In fact, you're opening up a whole.
But I think people need to see that, and they need to see that you can do it, and it's not going to break the bank.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
no,
And
well,
it's
yeah.
a reminder, it's not just one-time education, but he's also talking about having regular
Sure.
reminders, because it's not just the
Integration.
one-time
Good
education.
point.
But I think with testimonials, and I think if we worked as a team, if we knew what the county is doing, like the walks, we would promote that
Sure.
at these events. So if we could work more as a team and not you doing your thing and somebody else,
Happy to do
wouldn't
that.
that be great?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Well, and the other thing I want to mention is that Tony Ivy, you know, besides being a beautiful model of wanting to have like a barter network, which I think is really cool
Yeah.
because
That
you-
helps us,
Collaboration,
that helps
you know,
board people.
but also
I've
you-
never eaten meat in my entire life.
Really.
I was raised a
Wow.
vegetarian.
Wow.
Yes, I am a.
You're a unicorn.
I am a lot plant,
Wow.
but I do eat some dairy.
Okay.
But yeah, my parents were vegetarians. My siblings are vegetarians.
well, 7-Day Adventist.
That was another one. Getting rid of cheese.
I used to. I used to.
Well, you
Making
know
your own
why?
cheese.
But you know why?
Yeah.
The cheese, casomorphine, it's got an opiate in it. It absolutely
The
does.
casomorphic, the protein, it's not the fat, it's not the butter, it's the protein in cheese, in cow milk,
That's a
called
big thing.
casein. And so there's casomorphic, it's an interesting, I'll tell you just 30 seconds. But when we're born, we nurse on the breast. When the baby cow is born, it nurses on the teat. If the baby cow goes up the hill following the butterfly at the pasture and doesn't milk and doesn't nurse, the baby cow's going to die, some wolf's gate or whatever. If the baby infant at the mom's breast doesn't nurse, it's going to die. So God, in the infinite wisdom, decided that she would play a trick. She made casomorphine receptors so that when you had some milk, it would trigger the casomorphine reaction, and you'd say, oh, this is great. So you're sitting there breastfeeding, and the mothers are sitting around looking at the baby saying, oh, the baby is so blissed out. The baby is stoned on the milk with its
Right.
casomorphine. So when you're in the store and you see the kids looking up for the Bond Bell little red things in their net basket, and they're tearing at their mother's skirt, the kid is addicted. So this is actually, now the problem was it's good to keep you surviving as you're breastfed, but when you stop breastfeeding, then it turns out that the things in the cow milk, unlike the mom, the
The
breast
dairy
milk,
industry.
causes big trouble. So anyway, it's an interesting trick that for survival,
That's why I was
that
like,
was
take
done
the
with
ice
this
cream.
casomorphine.
Well, yeah, but there are so many options to the ice creams right now.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
No,
you
they
know,
made it
it's
in some-
amazing.
I'm making that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, but
Randall, why don't you say, you know, if
And
you,
Dennis has some.
well, I was gonna say, I mean, it's interesting, you're on the same wavelength, so if you're coordinating with the county, your people can be there perhaps.
yeah.
But we also have that food limits specialist still in R&D.
Yes.
Do. I mean, maybe you could ally.
Yeah,
with her.
actually, we have agriculture and the food. So Sarah Freeman
Sarah Freeman.
works on food, and then Glenn Sacco works on agriculture. So, yeah, and
Maybe
I'm
we
happy.
can
I'm happy to
Yeah,
bring
yeah.
those.
If you could bring your people and my people together, that would be
I mean,
awesome.
with
you know?
with like a social media aspect in multimedia, it would be awesome to create some PSAs or just, you know, videos that we can play that you don't have to be there to integrate messages that you wanted to share as well.
Sure.
But to be involved, you can take your own time outside of the time that it requires for us to be there in the space to run the event. But you can still be involved really easily, and we can set it up so that you're still there.
Right.
Okay. So let me do this. I'll give you my secretary's number.
Okay.
We're running just a little bit out of time now.
Okay.
And we'll have you set something up. And let me know the dates you guys. I mean, this kind of stuff I enjoy going out to too. So
December
Wonderful.
10th, Saturday, December 10th.
Saturday, December 10th. So
Yeah.
I've got to put it on my thing, and we'll talk to Maurice
Yeah.
from Parks and
Okay, and I just want to give you this. I'm gonna. This is one of the things that I work with UH.
Okay.
You're familiar with turmeric, right?
Yep.
Okay. Well, these are 12 varietals of turmeric that are grown just in Hawaii alone.
Oh.
If you look at the bottom 6, they hardly have any curcumin value at all. I want to gift you a bottle of this. This is a hydrosol and an essential oil. If you have anything going on with arthritis, rheumatism, cuts, bruises, sprains, if you went to a website that's called pubmed.gov, 6,000 independent peer-reviewed studies, 600 human ailments, no
It's
toxicity.
the most studied plant herb on the planet.
Yeah.
And interesting,
and
I
you
didn't know
spray it on.
Well,
Yeah,
right,
right,
yeah,
both
just
in and on anything.
Okay.
right, and also and also under the tongue. Yeah.
Okay.
But interestingly on that, 'cause I happen to have
Yeah.
this, a combination, in one study they
Thank
did
you.
recently, a combination of boswellia and curcumin, which is the active ingredient, that showed that the superior efficacy and tolerability compared with a non-steroidal diclofenac, which is a drug that they use for treating active osteoarthritis. So they actually compare just using this kind of a herbal approach that he's a specialist on when it comes to turmeric. But so there's lots of clinical research that backs this stuff up. And what's the point? The point is that the medications have downsides and adverse reactions. If we can do this with stuff with growing on the island,
Right.
and we grow lots of turmeric on this island,
Yep.
then we're going to be 5
Yeah.
steps ahead, less healthcare costs, and better for the
Right,
economy.
so-
And
Which one is this?
This is the top one.
Okay.
The top 2.
Top
Okay.
2.
And so I want you to like I said, if you get aches, sprains, cuts, bruises, put it on, and that's the way I sell it.
So will this have a color on it too?
No,
No color.
no, all
Clear.
the orange yellow stayed in my still. So that's just essential oil and the floral water called the hydrosol.
Very
Try
cool.
it. It'll speak to you.
All right. I'm gonna try
It's
it.
Dr. Tim approved.
Yeah,
Dr. Tim.
I use it all the time. Last example, just one,
Yeah.
on how effective is this stuff. So we just went through spending 2.5, 3 years going on with COVID, with millions and billions of dollars and going in to try and treat and help people with this. And our healthcare systems were overwhelmed. There's a lot of craziness. So interesting studies that was done. Dr. Leo Gallen, who's one of the pioneers in functional medicine, who's on the East Coast, talked about a study from Johns Hopkins, Harvard, Columbia, Stanford, top researchers, mostly doctors. They followed a bunch of healthcare professionals, mostly doctors and mostly men. And they categorized them. They all recovered from COVID. So they all had gotten better from COVID. And they've been studied what was their diet like the year before they got COVID. And what they found is that 40% increase in the consumption of vegetables. If you upped your vegetables by 40%, you created a 72% decrease in the likelihood that you would have a moderate or severe case of COVID versus
Don't
a
tell
mild
Pfizer that.
versus a mild or well. This is the point is that this compares very more than favorably
Yeah.
with anything the vaccine. And if you take away relative versus absolute findings on those vaccinations, but same theme. Perlmutter, who's Dr. David Perlmutter, who's written all those books, Brain, he's the one who wrote all that stuff. One of my mentors, and he found that uric acid elevation created elevated levels, almost triple the likelihood that you would end up on an ICU or on a ventilator in the hospital. So Harvard study, a lot of real interesting stuff. They followed 600,000 adults for 9 months. And again, if they got the disease and they were eating vegetables, more fruits and vegetables, they got a decreased risk of getting COVID. And if they got it, they had a 41% lower chance of getting a severe or moderate case. And the last one from Dr. Joel Furman, who's a name you probably know, British Medical Journal. So he's talking about the article in the British Medical Journal where they had found over the years, which is what we talk about, that the severity was almost all diet related. For example, everybody in the ICU they all were vitamin D deficient.
Right.
Okay. So in that British Medical Journal, 2021, just recently, people who followed a plant-based diet had a 73% lower chance of developing moderate to severe COVID.
Dr. Tim, is that whole food plant-based? Or is that just plant-based?
The word they're using is plant. Now, obviously, the details, then you look at what were they actually eating.
Right,
But
right.
just eating plant-based gave you a 73% lower chance of having a severe or moderate case of COVID. And beyond that, those that followed a low-carb, high-protein diet were 48% chance more likely to have a moderate to severe case. So real clear, what you eat makes it, I mean, heart disease and cancer and diabetes, it doesn't matter what you eat. That's the thing, as you know, learn from your own experience. It's not that there's one diet for diabetes, one diet for heart disease. If you're eating
Same
the right
diet.
stuff, you're protected on all of them.
So I did Furman and Ornish. So
Good.
Furman's
Yeah.
green bombs.
Yeah, first
Yeah.
grade.
Now,
Yeah.
Mayor, if, you know, you're gonna think of people that need to be involved.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure Dennis is gonna think of people that need to be involved.
Yeah.
In creating the team
Yeah.
and then would you want to see this list and would you want
Sure.
some kind of proposal about recommendation about how to make this dream happen?
What I'm probably going to do is I'm going to assign a executive assistant to work on this.
Perfect.
That's why he's the mayor.
Perfect.
So, and there's a couple of people that, they're already working on this. I mean, they're already doing the
Yes,
walk
and
with the
so
mayor, so
put them together.
they're already working on shooting stuff and stuff
Beautiful.
like that.
Well, I know that you're busy in that. I just want to wrap it up, and once again, I want to thank you all for showing up because this is what I live for. I mean, I went to school. I wanted to be a medical doctor. I went to pre-med. I didn't like it because they were teaching us that sickness and disease was inevitable and there was nothing you could do about it. I became a psychologist instead, and I worked at a preventive medical clinic for cardiovascular patients in Loma Linda, which is the
Oh, yeah.
highlight of vegetarianism.
7-Day Adventist place.
Yeah. And
I was born and raised that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not one anymore.
yeah, and anyway, Dr. Halstead, he pioneered chelation therapy, hyperbaric oxygen therapy. When anybody came to his clinic, this man's resume was like a phone book. He was the world's leading authority on poisonous, venomous land and marine animals. And I did my when you want to get licensed as a psychologist, you have to do 1,500 pre-doctoral, 1,500 postdoctoral. I did my 1,500 pre-doctoral hours at his clinic. And it was my job as a psychologist, and once again, that's what we're talking about, you have to have some kind of incentive. And at that time, Mitch, this was in the mid-'80s, so they didn't have stents. I mean, they would cut you open stem to sternum, and there was this was not covered by any type of insurance. And these people were very wealthy. There were admirals and generals and things like that. But the main thing that I saw is that he suggested that people go, once again, that's where I met Dean Ornish, was at Dr. Halstead's clinic. And this was in the late 80s, okay? This is where Dean got his incentive to do things. But the bottom line is that it's so important, unfortunately, for some people to have a 16-ounce glove in the face before we wake up. I mean, it's really funny that it is that way. And I just want to mention to you that I'm so much in gratitude that you're hearing us, because I really believe that possibly if this hadn't have happened, you wouldn't know all these things.
I kind of knew. I just,
Yeah. Well,
given
what was the incentive?
given the alternative,
Yeah.
I mean, that was it. Given the alternative, what I was
Right,
looking at.
right.
I mean,
What a
and
testimony. That's such a,
Isn't it? Yeah.
so I mean, when I looked at the numbers that I had, my troponin levels, you guys,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
speak
No.
that way.
was
Yeah.
25,000. I got people that tell me that they, doctor friends that said,
I'm
It's
grateful
lucky you're
you're
alive.
here. I'm grateful that we have a
Definitely.
second chance to change the rest of your life. This is
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
The way I got into this, when I was 13 years old, my father was 6'1½". He was a former Air Force physical training officer, brilliant and band leader. But he died of his fourth coronary when I was 13. Now, he did smoke camel stick, but he was in great physical condition. In those days, your doctor told you to smoke camels, okay? They actually had a sign.
right?
You've seen those. So I started as a teenager, and I had two brothers, with no father, having died of heart disease. So early on, I said, what am I going to do so that this is never, I haven't had a drug in 50 years of any kind. The lifestyle is the insurance. It is your, so, but that's how I got into it, because heart disease was something that I lost my father to. And so for me, this was a big priority. I had to learn everything I could about how does that never happen. That's why I say when I met you, I said, I got to call him and say, look, we can make your heart attack proof. And so this is what I've been doing for the last 4 years in the office. And it's great stuff because it is reversible, as you said. And if you've learned from Warnish and Furman. So we can make the changes. And if you just educate people, and not everybody's as smart as you, but I really believe that if you show them, here's what you can do and here's how you can do it. How do I make my food without the oil? And you can actually do it. Tasty. I eat like a horse. I love food. I had a restaurant. I had a natural food restaurant in California. So I love food. I eat like a horse. And it's yummy. It's delicious. So it can be done.
And I'm realizing that as well.
Thank you for making the
Okay.
time today.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
All right, we just had one of the most successful meetings with Mayor Roth of the County of Hawaii, and I am so thrilled and filled with gratitude that this man is actually able to understand and to live a wellness lifestyle. And in fact, he told us that what he was going to do is implement all these wellness programs. And one of them is happens to be walking with the mayor, and that's going to be so beautiful. And what we're going to do is that Dr. Tim Handlin is going to be a part of our program, and we're going to see when we can start working with the county to do a number of educational programs with them and for all of you. This is for the Big Island of Hawaii to become the true healing island, not only of Hawaii Island, but of the world.